Hello, everyone, and welcome into crushthestreet.com. I'm Kenneth Amanduri, and I'm joined today with Claudio Grass, someone who is a Mises ambassador and an independent precious metals advisor based out of Switzerland. It's a pleasure to speak with him. Lots of weird things happening. I mean, we got a lot of things not passing the smell test. We have censoring of medical discussions, censoring of precious metals discussions. I mean, they stopped the vote counting in the middle of the night. Facebook shuts down, for hours on end, and just kind of everyone has to wonder what is happening in this world as we continue to inch towards tyranny. And we're being conditioned in so many ways to accept the inevitable. And I'd love to get his thoughts on this. And all of this does pertain to money, by the way. A lot of people, wonder why we talk about politics or why we talk about what's going on with society. Well, that leads to where money is going to flow, or the lack of control of money, inflation. I mean, these are all things that are a result of what people do as a society. So we're going to discuss that today. Claudio, thanks for joining me today at Crush the Street.
Ken, it's always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Maybe you can respond to a little bit of what we just said there in the introduction.
Sure.
The lack of control of what, or the increase of control of what we're seeing from governments. It's insane. And I wonder where this is headed.
Yeah, I think, we are living in a centralized system. I mean, the money is centralized, governments are centralized. So, and now, the whole system is even centralizing further. And that's also basically the storyline which we have been taught by the World Economic Forum and all those anointed experts who basically tell us by 2030, you will own nothing and you will be happy. The Corona is, at the end of the day, Corona is nothing else than a long-term war, the crowning of a long-term war against Western civilization. I think that's what it's all about. The big agenda behind it, is the green economy, the new Green Deal, the Build Back Better, CO2 emission free. I mean, that's at least, the story which is being sold, which has been sold to the useful idiots, to divide and conquer society. I'm in precious metals. So basically I'm doing that for now, 10, 12 years professionally, not because I thought it's something exciting and you can be a rich guy, within a short period of time. I always thought, that this system is coming down, because at the end of the day, it's never the scarcity it's not about the scarcity of money, especially not in a credit-based system. It's always the scarcity when it comes to goods and services. And so we are in an environment where monetary injections, monetary interventions is highly inflationary, highly expansionary. And we're talking about 22 trillion, since the beginning of Corona, roughly. It's just, 1 trillion seconds represents 31,709 years. I think it's always a nice, the figures are so big, people cannot even measure it any longer. Everything is inflationary. And at the same time, we can see that the avalanche division of labor by, basically governments putting themselves over the economy, over the private people. I mean, we only know that from totalitarian, authoritarian systems, quarantining away people, locking them away. So we don't have been extremely productive. And therefore, so we have, on the one hand side, we have an inflationary environment, on the other side, a very deflationary environment when it comes to goods and services. So that's an additional booster for uncertainty or, higher inflation. And we always know that, hyperinflation basically can kick in within 6 months. And to me, because also everything operates in cycles, and we're at the end of a long-term debt cycle. We are celebrating basically 50 years of Nixon's decision to go off the gold standard. Then we have generational cycles, 80 years, where basically the final generation is ripping off the whole system, the de-illusioned Yaos, which we can see all over the Western world. So I think everything is coming together for the perfect storm, and everything has an end. Only a sausage has two, That's what we say in Switzerland. So I think, yeah, the world has already changed. We're not going to go back to pre-corona days. The big changes are still coming. That's not the end of corona. It's just the beginning of the final destruction of the current system. And what will come out of it in the next 6, 12, 18 months. So yeah, that's a little bit, the way I see it.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. I think we're getting a little bit of an internet connectivity issue here. So hopefully we'll be able to fix some of that on the editing process. But I think we can hear each other right now, Claudio. Yeah, absolutely. And what's crazy is gold. Well, I think we got most of that, and I'll go back and take a look. But if anything, maybe you can catch it up here with like a good little summary. But the inflation headlines are crazy, and I think people are really demoralized that they're looking at gold and silver especially down so much, close to $20, in the face of nonstop inflation headlines.
I couldn't hear you for the last 2 minutes.
Hey, Claudio, can you hear me now?
Yeah. What do you think? Is it on your line? I mean, my connection is pretty good.
Okay, I don't know. I mean, it seemed like it was fine. I think it was. Well, I'll start over that question. Okay. All right. Okay. So metals. It's crazy to me that metals have been so lackluster in this environment with nonstop inflation headlines. I mean, I think people are demoralized because they see the case for gold, the case for silver, especially silver. I mean, being down so much now, it's such an irony that we're seeing other things go up so much, AMC and GameStop and Bitcoin and other things that, people are going, oh, look what is happening with inflation. Inflation's causing lumber to go up. Inflation's causing uranium to go up. All these things. But yet, we've been waiting locked and loaded for gold and silver to go up. And when it's finally a moment for it, it doesn't seem to be catching the news here. So maybe you can address that a little bit.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, gold goes up when people lose trust into the institutions. And gold is still, it's a niche market. I mean, when you look at total assets on this planet, when you take all the assets worth, how much they are worth, and you compare it with gold and gold mining industries, for example, today it stands at 0.1%. For example, in 2011, when we stood at $1,900 an ounce, the same industry was 0.5%. In the meantime, we injected, I don't know, 140 trillions of additional credit, something like this. Stock went up, real estate went up, government's debt went up tremendously, but basically gold and silver corrected. So gold is still a political metal. Still, I mean, gold is money, everything else is credit. And so even when gold price, that's why Greenspan came up with this Greenspan put. It was important in the past to keep gold undervalued, keep it low, basically, so that the people believe everything is fine. But it just showed, you cannot keep it down all the time. But basically, we are standing right now at, the paper price for gold or silver. It can literally go to zero, because the paper price for gold and silver is just a piece of paper. It's a promise to deliver or whatever. I mean, we can see right now, silver, for example. Silver is decoupling from the physical metal price. Fabrication premiums are going up. They doubled versus before Corona days, just because it's scarce. The physical demand is very strong, and so these prices are decoupling already. Gold, I mean, gold always goes in waves, And then we had summertime. I wrote an article beginning of summer saying, listen, most likely we're going to see a correction, just because of the narrative which is pushed on us. I mean, so we were able to travel again, to go make party, to have lots of drinks. And then we heard about, okay, the vaccine campaign is starting. So when you're back from vacation, the economy is going to restart, everything will be fine. That has been, the official whatever propaganda hampered on us. So, then of course people are fine. They feel happy again. taking more risk. Why do you should own gold? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, enjoy. 18 months ago, I said, okay, Corona is the official invitation to leave the system because they lock us out anyway. And I thought maybe, if they stop it, all these measures after 4 to 6 weeks, we have a chance to go back. But now we are in that game for 18 months and we still don't know how long it will take. So to me, I mean, it's a demolition, it's a controlled attempt or an attempt of a controlled demolition of the current system. But what is for sure is they are talking about the Great Reset. I mean, this is the end of the old system. And you have to destroy an old system to create a new one. You have to destroy the faith into the institutions. I mean, just think about, when we are vaccinating children, or or people in general, which are, I mean, the risk to die of Corona is 0.05 if you are below 70. That's just the statistics. So it's like a flu. And now we are talking about that we should also vaccinate children, which have no problem. They're not going to die. Nothing. It's just a flu with a vaccine which is experimental, which is basically destroying your immune system, reprogramming your immune system. I mean, the immune system is, nature is great, and nature is perfect. The world is perfect. This world is not going down because of CO2 in 7 years or whatever they are telling us, for 2 decades now already. I mean, nature is perfect, and so is our immune system. And now basically they decided to basically do a huge experiment, half of the population on this planet. So if it would be possible to print wealth out of nothing, I mean, then we don't have to pay taxes, we don't have to work. I mean, the central banks can hand us out $1 million on an annual basis and we all have a happy life. I mean, that's the story they're telling us, but it's all nonsense, it's bullshit. And I think from now on, whoever remains with all his assets and his fortune in this system is going to be ripped apart and is going to be impoverished over the coming months.
Claudio, I'm interested in your thoughts on crypto. You talked about nature being perfect, and so many people have compared the beauty of Bitcoin and how it was created. It's almost like a constitution or something that was just done and so well thought out in its economy and the way it's ran, its decentralization. I mean, so many things about it. What are your thoughts on something like Bitcoin and its entrance into our global economic system?
I always embraced cryptocurrencies. I embrace the idea because at the end of the day, to me, I love competition. And so to me, it was always denationalization of money. It was empowering the competition among private companies, to create a competitive monetary system against, the central banks. It was basically, the story was to take out the middleman, to have peer-to-peer transactions, which are not controllable, which allows for a fully decentralized peer-to-peer interaction. So this is definitely, I think, crypto, the digitalization, on the way we are on, I think that's the future. When it comes to, I mean, we are at the tech bubble 2.0. We had the same 20 years ago. All the old players who were around and big names, they don't exist any longer. I still believe when you look at the crypto market, I mean, 95% is shitcoin. It's just an idea. It has no big meaning. It's a huge speculation. Mm-hmm. And even Bitcoin, I'm not sure if it will become the digital gold because of this pseudo anonymity. You can trace it in a way. I mean, all these exchanges. So I mean, a lot of the advantages of anonymity and so on has been a bit reduced. So we will see. I mean, we'll see. I truly believe money has 2 functions. But the first function, it's a medium of exchange. And it should also be a store of value. And when I look at gold, for example, and crypto, then to me, gold, for example, is a superior store of value. And cryptocurrencies are a superior medium of exchange. And this combination is going to free the individual as long as people don't go for central banking digital coins, which would basically represent, I mean, every coin has two sides. So we have a decentralized side and we have a centralized side. So don't touch government stuff, which is all about centralization, full control. They can limit your transaction, they can lock you out, they can go for negative interest rates, not only 1 or 2%, can do it 20%. I mean, the central banking digital coin solution is nothing, it's bullshit at the end of the day. But I think the decentralized side is much more coming into play also in the future, and you cannot stop those crypto anarchists who are basically trying to free the individual instead of enslaving him.
It's so insane, the world we're living in. And I'm frustrated that we're not seeing this in gold. I'll reiterate that again, that the manipulation that we're seeing in gold and the comparison that we're seeing in crypto, it's so unfortunate, because I think that's what's demoralized so many people. Like, I don't know people under 30 or 35 that care about gold and silver, because they haven't seen it, go up and compared to everything else, the stock market, real estate, cryptocurrencies, tech, all these other things have created an environment that has basically made gold and silver look, you've lost nominally, really. Like in a lot of ways, nominally, you've lost owning gold and silver compared to some of these other assets. So I guess that's what I'm hoping for. And I say that negatively, but the other side of the coin is, where else can you find this extreme sort of value in this world today? I mean, silver, got to go back to 1980 for its all-time high. I mean, it's what's trading below its 1980 all-time high, no other asset out there. So, I mean, where's the value? Like, are you a contrarian investor?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, our internet connection is not synced up very good, unfortunately. Did you hear that question?
Have you ever tried? No, not the last. I mean, the last 2 minutes you were completely blocked.
Okay.
I just know that gold did not respond and silver, and that you nominally lost money. That's what I heard.
Yeah. Okay. I'll just re-ask that question and I'll let you go, or I'll let you speak. I don't know. I've been doing these Zoom calls and it's been working. I don't know. We could be having issues with the internet company. I don't know.
Or maybe the Zoom server.
What's that?
You should try maybe also the Zoom infrastructure. It's also centralized. Maybe why don't you try Jitsi? Jitsi is fully decrypted, peer-to-peer. It's an open source. Perfect.
Jitsi. Oh, I like to communicate like this.
Yeah. Because you can also do conference calls, and I think you can record, but most likely might be a better option for the future because of the decentralized nature.
Okay. All right. Well, Claudio, let me ask you that one last question, and then I'll let you go. I'm sorry that this is not working as it should be. Normally it works fine. Okay, so I wanted to ask you, Claudio, I mean, right now I'll go back to gold and silver, and just, I guess, the fact that, there's really no other place where we can find this sort of value, but be more disgusted with the investment in a way. Like, if you're a real contrarian, you have to acknowledge that silver is an amazing buy right now because of where it is, and it's below its 50%, below 50% of its 1980 nominal high, not even considering inflation adjusted, which is insane to me. So is that something to be demoralized about, or to really dig your heels in and say it's going to have its run sooner or later, one day or another?
No, I mean, it's always up to the perspective of the individual, of course. I had a customer of mine also going into gold coins, and he has been, heavily invested stock market, real estate, and so on. And he told me, yeah, but gold is not moving, and I had it for 5 years, and it's up a little bit, blah blah. And so I was like, okay, I mean, we have assets which have been artificially pushed up since 2000. We have seen an enormous injection when it comes to liquidity, additional credit into the system, and that credit went into certain bubbles. And that was basically, yeah, stock market, real estate, government bonds, that kind of stuff. But gold and silver was kept artificially low because they even corrected. Not all the time, because you can always, gold and silver it's not something that you can become a rich guy fast. Gold and silver was always, I always told the people, okay, listen, this is your insurance, first of all. Or you can accumulate wealth and increase your purchasing power over a long time. But it's not something that you go in and out, because for that, the market is too volatile. But as we have seen, you cannot keep gold and silver down all the time. As we have seen, since 1999, when gold stood, what, $180? We are still standing at 1800. So, I always saved in gold and silver. So therefore, I basically never lost money. And at the same time, I was able to sleep. But of course, I was an owner. I prepared, for what's coming. I said, hey, why should I speculate in a market that I don't trust and that I don't understand, and I believe it's absurd? So I rather do what I understand, and I put it on the side, and I know for sure that in the future it will be my pension fund, it will be the money for my kids, and at the same time it's outside the system. They cannot confiscate, they cannot shut down the banking system. It's really physical. It's stored with private companies in safe jurisdictions. Okay, jurisdiction, whenever you have custody, then you need a safe jurisdiction. And this is why, Switzerland and Liechtenstein is still the best place to be, because our governments, they don't have that much power. So, it's really a kind of philosophy. And also the guys I'm meeting especially since March, a lot of people realize that the system is going bust. And now when you look at gold over here in Switzerland, I have one of my key partners, they increased the amount of customs by 400%. And that means, especially little guys. So we're talking about, majority was, guy from the street buying for 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. So that's the majority of the people. So the little guy who understands something is smelling, and I take my savings and I put it into physical gold and silver on the side. And I know when the system goes bust, then the purchasing power of gold and silver is going to increase dramatically, because all the rest of the assets which have been pumped up artificially are going to bust. And all the guys who own those assets, they don't own it. Most of them are only invested. So, if once the correction is too big, these guys will also go bust. They're going to lose everything. And that's why the World Economic Forum says, by 2030, you will own nothing and you will be happy, because everyone that is operating with credit as an investor in the current environment, I think is going belly up, with the exception of, if they can keep that system alive, which I don't believe, because, even when you transit from an old one in a new one, it's like a wedding, it's like a marriage. It's always, and if you separate, it's always connected with pain. And so if you don't want to become the slave of the new world order promoted by those sociopaths in central planning, then if you want to have a self-sustainable, independent, free life, then as a quintessence, you also have to go into assets which are not in the banking system. And what else is left, besides, metals, base metals, hard assets that you can touch, that you can own, and they will make a difference, especially in times like this, in these big movements, in these tectonic shifts, which are taking place over the coming months, or maybe 1.5. I would say, I was always hesitant with timing, and I'm still hesitant, because I also don't know the future. But it's just crazy. As I said, it's not the scarcity of money in a credit-based system, definitely not the issue. It's a scarcity of goods and service, and there we are going into the consequences of 18 months of not being productive and destroying an old system and its supply structures.
Claudio, it's I look forward to having these conversations as things develop. We've seen things derail faster than I would have ever imagined. The things that we talk about as conspiracy, maybe more a few years ago, are now not conspiracies. They're happening, but accepted, which is weird. Like, people would have said, this is Big Brother and the things that are happening, censorship. all these mandates, even the Democrats and these progressives that are, mandating vaccines, they said not that long ago, we can't force that. That's an individual decision. These are things that we can't do. And now we're doing those things. We're stepping into territories that we've never seen before at a rate that is out of control, exponential. So I look forward to having these conversations here and watching things develop. So thank you so much for coming on the show with me today. If people want to learn more about you, the work you're doing, please let them know where they can go and what they can expect to find.
Okay, they can basically go to my webpage, claudiograss.ch. They are also run a blog where I write about, monetary topics, the world economy, geopolitics, philosophy. I think philosophy is also, I think it's the most crucial moment, especially in my 50 years, because, I discussed all this social distancing, self-quarantine becomes, human interaction becomes a medical threat. I discussed that with Václav Klaus, the former president of the Czechoslovakia, last year in November. And he basically told me, Claudio, we all know this from communism. It's all about the destruction, to destroy the relationship between the individuals, among individuals. It's really so that they don't trust each other any longer. And so this is the basis for every totalitarian system, to destroy the trust within a society. And that's what we have witnessing over the 18 months. And I think, our society is divided. We're not going to find a one-fits-it-all solution. And therefore, people still are reasonable human beings. Sometimes, they need a bit more pain until they realize that, the whole matrix, and I call it Muppet Show, is basically, it's just a Muppet Show, and that's what it's all about. But I think a lot of people are realizing that the world has changed, and that they, at the end of the day, have to act, and that they have to make some basic decisions when it comes to their future and their well-being, and for their family and friends. I mean, if people want to kill themselves, we cannot stop them. We cannot change the world, but we can take care of ourselves and start that thinking process. What is my plan B if really the system goes down? Am I happy to live in New York or in Los Angeles, or is it rather, do I rather prefer a place which is a bit more at the edge, not that densely populated, hopefully with like-minded individuals, to basically prepare for what is coming. It's a rebuilding of civilization again.
Claudio, thank you so much for coming on the show with me today. And you're right. If people want to kill themselves, they should have that choice. And that's kind of why I feel that drugs should not be criminalized. It's a basic thing. If there's a victimless crime, I tend to feel like government should stay out of the way. But that's a whole other discussion. So Claudio, thank you so much for coming on the show with me today. We'll make sure to have your website in the description area. Check out Claudio's website, and looking forward to future talks here in short order.
Kenneth, always a pleasure. Take care. Stay free.